Okay, UX maturity. Super important topic, one of great significance. We could spend hours talking about this for sure. But let me highlight some of the most important things you should know and be aware of. According to this 2022 study, 18% of respondents work for a company that is absent or limited in terms of UX maturity. That means these folks work for a company where UX and its benefits are either non-existent or ignored or are haphazard and purely aspirational. The good news is that 81% of respondents work for a company that is functioning with UX as emerging and promising, but it's still inconsistent to almost systematic and effective to comprehensive and pervasive throughout the organization. Okay. When we look at the distribution, it's encouraging to see the uptrend in emergent through structured. So what does this mean for you? When you're interviewing for roles at different companies, you want to make sure you're asking questions to get a sense for their level of UX maturity so you know what you're walking into should you get a job offer. You want to focus your questions on, resources, budgets, team size, process, autonomy, collaboration, and success metrics. Do they have a dedicated team or teams that are focused on different portions of the UX spectrum? For instance, do they have 1 to 2 resources focused on research with 1 or 2 on strategy and a few more on design? Or do they have multiple resources that execute across the board and are woven into different product teams? The answers to these questions is going to give you an indication of how mature a company is with regards to UX. You also want to get a sense for how autonomy and collaboration works within a company. While I don't recommend going and working for a company where a product owner or a product manager is just prioritizing and telling you what to design, those are miserable situations. But I would recommend working for one where there is a healthy balance of autonomy with design decisions that are based on collaborative sessions with, internal stakeholders and customers. And another red flag to look for are product-led companies that say they do, user testing with designs and design prototypes, but really only conduct focus groups that yield no real insights into behaviors and the why behind those behaviors. Okay. That's the type of stuff that you're only going to get through qualitative observational type research. You're not going to get that from focus groups. You also want to get a sense for the type of resources and budgets that are allocated towards UX. So a great question to ask is, hey, tell me about how company X invests in UX and how success is measured. When you ask that question, just sit back and listen. Okay. The answer or lack thereof is going to give you an indication of how well integrated UX is in an organization. You might often be surprised by how honest your interviewer is. One important note here, while it's on my mind, do not expect to get clarification on this from a phone interview with a recruiter. Okay, these are questions you want to ask a more senior level resource or a hiring manager. Okay, another thing to note is knowing what you're willing to struggle with and be challenged by in terms of being a UX evangelist. Okay, because job number 1 is to be an advocate for the end user, for the humans you're designing for. And oftentimes, depending on the level of maturity of UX within an organization, that means that you're going to have to really advocate and evangelize for it with some companies, even if they are classified as emergent. Okay. So keep in mind that the best strategy for this is to be supportive, proactive, and really add value in your role when and where you can. Okay. When you step into those type of situations, this is going to give you a great reputation and people will love working with you because you help solve their problems. What you don't want to do is run around telling people that they're doing it wrong. Okay. That approach does not work. You may be tempted to do it and you may even catch yourself doing it, but don't do it. Okay. Be supportive, add value, involve people in the process, and light bulbs are going to go off. So just, pardon the personal reference, but just a quick story on this. When I had the opportunity to move into a director level position and build a team from the ground up within the Chicago office of a technology consulting company, I jumped at the opportunity. Okay. I was very excited and optimistic about this role, but it was a total uphill journey of getting my colleagues, who were all technical architects and software developers, to get them on board with the value of UX and product design. There was a lot of, who are you? What do you do? What value, do you add? There was all that type of attitude. Okay. And it was even difficult for me to get invited to pre-sale meetings and business development meetings so I could actually pitch strategy and design services to potential clients so I could build my practice. I had to almost beg to be included in those meetings. It sucked. It really sucked. And there were times I wanted to quit, and look for another job, but I didn't. And I quickly learned everything I just told you. Okay. When I focused on being super scrappy and resourceful and supportive, everyone responded and started to see the value of what I did because they were witnessing it firsthand. Okay. And I finally caught a break with a pharmaceutical company where I was able to pitch to their marketing team instead of their IT folks. And I wound up winning a 6-figure design project. And that project was so well delivered by the team and the client was so happy with the design solution that it led to them asking us to build the solution. Okay. So it also led to other lines of business within that company wanting the same thing that we had just done for this one line of business. So once my colleagues saw this, then light bulbs went off and they realized, oh yeah, when you lead with design, it follows with all kinds of development work. Well, this was a bit of a face palm for me, but it was worth it. And from there, things really skyrocketed and I went from begging to be included in sales meetings to sales being one of my biggest advocates and supporters. And, I went on to sell millions in projects with this one client, and I wound up getting promoted to a national role once, the company that I was working for was sold to a larger solutions company. So I'm telling you this so you can get a sense for some of the intangibles and how much of a struggle it can be. Okay. It's not easy, but for the right opportunity with the right company, it can really be worth it. Okay. You're not going to win everyone's heart and mind, but you can certainly have success. Okay. Let's go ahead and transition into talking about design operations. It's 100% relevant to the topic of UX maturity. So I'll see you in the next video.